what years are we talking about, and what was the effect? I mean, what's the bottom line for the average Australian family?
Well, look, surprise, surprise to everybody, the falls and the cuts actually started to come in the previous Labor government back in 2012. And the actual biggest cut came under Bill Shorten, who, as Employment Minister, oversaw the largest ever annual decline in the amount of apprentices we have in this country, totalling 10% of the system. And that in train started this snowball effect. In 2012, we had 515,000 apprentices in training. Today, we have about 390,000 in training. But through the middle of those years, we had as low as 260,000 apprentices in training. But you have to put that in context. Our workforce is over 13 million people. We are a country who are proud of our tradies and our apprentices, and there's only 390,000 of them in training.
So what did the Coalition do in the interim? Since Bill Shorten, reduced the apprenticeship workforce, what happened after that during the Coalition years?
The first few years of the Coalition government coming into power in 2013, they were hamstrung by one of these agreements that the Commonwealth has to have with the states and territories when they provide them money. They're called National Partnerships Agreements. And the previous one by the previous Labor government was a dog of a deal. Like I said, it gave them money and then they pulled it out. What the Coalition did when they had the opportunity to renegotiate it was they went to the states and territories and they said, listen, we'll give you money only if you reach your targets. We'll determine what those targets are together. If you don't reach your targets or don't have industry validation for those projects, well, then it's not going to slide. And do you know what happened, Fred? For 2.5 years, there was a stalemate where the states said, we're not agreeing to that. And the Commonwealth said, but we have this bucket of money for you. Surely we can get this going.
So this is all down to politics. We've had just give us those numbers again. How many apprentices do we have at the moment?
390,000.
From a working population of 13 million?
Well, yeah, we have more than 13 million people in the workforce at the moment. It's a record in Australian history. It's a minuscule amount.
Is this a reflection that manufacturing has disappeared from Australia?
Yes and no, but it is reflected in the acute skills shortages. I remember just a few months ago there was a front cover of the West Australian that said now it's going to take 3 years to build your house because there's a tradie shortage. Not investing in those skills priorities and having that stalemate between the states and territories and the Commonwealth for so many years has just hurt the system.
Well, the other thing that happened in the previous Labor government was this shift. It's kind of ironic for a Labor government to be doing this, but this shift of focus away from trades and apprenticeships, which are perfectly good and profitable and lucrative occupations, towards university education. And they lifted the cap on university enrolments. And so suddenly Australia's youth were sort of channelled towards university. What happened then, James?
Well, Fred, the first point to make is that we did some polling on this as to whether the Australian people actually agreed with the previous government's decision to uncap university places at the cost of apprenticeship places. And it came in with a resounding almost 70% of people disagreeing with that decision. But there's only one other thing to say as to why that decision was poor. 94% of trade apprentices that complete their apprenticeship go straight into employment within 3 months. The figure is far lower for university, and that's not demeaning a university degree at all. But what that is saying is that with an apprenticeship, you are earning and learning from day one, and then you go straight into meaningful employment. And a lot of the time, earning a lot more in the first few years and beyond than your university mates.